All right, guys, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. Got the tournament preview video here for the Farmers Insurance Open. And this is a course where we have seen it a decent amount of times in the past. We kind of know what to expect. So pretty much the basic breakdown before we dive into a little bit more is that this tournament is played on two separate courses through the first two rounds, and then it is going to be played at the same course for the last two rounds. So the first two rounds, we get Torrey Pines South and North. The North course is a lot shorter than the South course. Now, we do not have any real data to go off of for the North course, but it is like 500 yards shorter. So that is going to be the course where if you're playing a showdown slate, you'd want to target that course just because it's a lot shorter. This is a course slash tournament that typically does play a little bit harder, and we see that reflected in the scores. And we'll get into that a little bit as well. But just talking about kind of the players here, some interesting kind of storylines. So we got Jason Day and also Jordan Spieth both making their first starts since the restart here, or since the break here. Tiger Woods, unfortunately, is not going to be playing in this one. Mark Leishman was the winner last year. He played really well there. And then we also are going to be looking at, Phil, I think, will be playing in this one. We got Xander Schauffele and JJ Spawn, who I both expect will play in this one as well. Xander, he went to San Diego State. He's played this course a ton. He pretty much said that this was his course growing up. And then you got JJ Spawn, who also is a player right around the area. So those are going to all be some guys that we'll probably look at this week just in general. But let's get into the breakdown of last week, and then we'll dive into the stat-wise for this tournament. All right, so just doing kind of the quick recap of last week. So last week we knew it was going to be an extremely high variance week. That was the known factor. You do the best that you can with stat-wise, but when you know it's going to be that high of a variance week, especially with a lot of players coming in off of a break, off of not playing for a while, that just makes it much more of a higher variance week. So just looking at the players that were ranked top 24 or better in the model, these are the players. This is how they did. So we had a lot of players miss the cut, which kind of, unfortunately, Scotty Scheffler, he was the correct play, just didn't have it all together, missed the cut by one. Sam Burns, obviously, just had a bad round. Those weren't the wrong plays. They just didn't work out. And that's kind of what you see in these higher variance weeks. You do the stats, and, that's really all you can do. So just looking at the model, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players that were in the top 10 that are, 31 or better. That's pretty solid. That's good enough. You're looking at top 20, especially at an event like this. You got Sungjae Im, John Huh, who I don't get how he was not chalk, especially when Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns, who were pretty much identically the same play, just especially given their price point, given their value, was pretty much the exact same play. That was pretty weird to me. And then obviously Tony Finau, really hoping that Tony Finau goes out and wins it, although Emiliano Grillo, it'd be kind of cool to see him win as well. That'd be right on par with how the 2021 season has went, is if one of those two wins. If Tony Finau or Emiliano Grillo go on and win, that'd be right on par with how the 2021 season has went. But let's get into the course preview here. It's kind of a fun one, the breakdown. And then after the course preview, I do have a new page that I'm going to be releasing here that I'm going to show you guys on this video as well. So kind of excited for that. But so just looking at this tournament in general here, we'll move that up a little bit. So got it already sorted. Torrey Pines, I put it as a Parkland style course. It's a coastal course as well, which might be a criteria that I start adding in as well. But for now, going to have it as a Parkland course. It just plays harder, and that's kind of why I put it as that. But looking at the fairway grass, it is Kikuyu grass. Greens are going to be Poana. There is a full tournament field event. We have seen that, the weather really hasn't played a key factor, and just it really could. It could play a factor, and it just really hasn't the last few years. It hasn't got over 20 too much. Now a couple of rounds it might have, but overall it didn't affect the tournament that much, and that's kind of how I have it broken down there. So Mark Leishman won it last year. Then we had Justin Rose, Jason Day, John Rahm, all kind of different golfers, all kind of elite golfers though, especially given that time. But we look at the outlier year. It was 2019. Cut was -3, and then the win score was -21. Kind of interesting to me there that happened, because all the other years we don't really see that. Look at the average win score is right around -15, and then the average cut range is right around 1. And so just looking at that and looking at the course yardage, that's kind of telling me, just based off of that I am going to want to be looking at bogey avoidance just in terms of making the cut, because typically when the cut line or projected cut line, what we're projecting the cut line to be is right around 1 or even. That's what I want to look at. So probably looking at bogey avoidance, and we'll just scroll down here to see if that is a key stat. So just looking at over all the years, this is our kind of the key stats just in terms of players that made the cut. Let's see here. Strokes gained tee to green, not as big as I would have thought, just in terms of players that made the cut. Bogey avoidance, I probably will be looking at that just in general, like I said. Maybe a little bit of ball striking. Yeah, so nothing really significant in terms of players that, made the cut. We are seeing, well, let's just sort it down. We'll go down to top 25 and then start sorting a little bit more as well. So over the last 4 years, players that finished top 25, we start to see a bigger picture here. Strokes gained tee to green, that starts to come into play, especially for a longer course. That just makes a ton of sense. Ball striking over total driving as a whole, that makes sense. We start to see driving distance matter over driving accuracy. Once again, it's a longer course, so that makes sense. We see bogey avoidance start to fall off, and then birdie or better percentage, or birdie to bogey ratio over birdie or better percentage start to play a factor. So in terms of making the cut, you probably want to look at bogey avoidance. Then in terms of top end finishes, so far what we're seeing is probably birdie to bogey ratio. And then we start to see the 200 to 175 yardage range really come into play, which makes a lot of sense. Longer course makes a lot of sense. One surprising thing here is that strokes gained putting really doesn't matter so far. That is pretty shocking to me. Let's see if that changes for top 10. It should, most likely, but maybe not as significantly. Yeah, not as significantly as we would have thought. In terms of like normal key stats, that's the one where we really don't need to worry about. So, hey, Cameron Champ, he'd be a great play at this tournament because putting doesn't matter. Oh, man, Keegan Bradley, he's going to go off. Putting doesn't matter. Okay, putting always matters, but, might bring the field back into play. Those guys that were poor putters in kind of the last few events. But, yeah, so in terms of key stats, what I'm seeing just based off of the last 4 years, bogey avoidance, probably going to be looking at that. I already touched on that. Birdie to bogey ratio over birdie or better percentage, because it's not more or less like just making a bunch of birdies. It's making a bunch of birdies without crippling yourself. We do see that, it's just they don't end up with wedges in their hands that much, so we don't really have to worry about their short yardage play. We got to worry about that 200 to 175 yardage range. We start to see that occur a little bit more. So it's going to be ball striking, strokes gained tee to green, bogey avoidance, birdie to bogey ratio. But let's see if it changes year by year. I'm kind of curious as to see 2019. So 2019, that was a low scoring week. Let's see if anything changed at all. Maybe putting was a little bit more. Driving accuracy was actually a little bit more key as well. Par 5 scoring was more key that year because it was a lower scoring event. That makes sense. Where a lower scoring event, the par 5 scoring would start to play a key role. I don't know. That's interesting to me. Let's compare that to last year, which much more balanced. So yeah, that makes sense. It just seems like 2019 was more of an outlier year. So far, what we're going to be looking at is going to be, let's click all of that. Ball striking, bogey avoidance, birdie to bogey ratio, strokes gained tee to green, and then 200 to 175 yardage range. That's what I'm going to be looking at. And now to show you guys kind of the new tool at 9 to 5, I'm kind of excited to show it off. So let's get into it. All right, so kind of just a basic overview of the tool right now. Just let me zoom in a little bit on it. Maybe one more there. There we go. All right, so we got the tool pulled up. It's pretty simple. You can either choose a player that you want to see, like say Xander. You want to pull him up and see kind of his key stats, see how he would rank out compared to kind of another event that's going on that week. You could do that. So we'll do that real quick. So just based on the key stats, everything are going to be happening. His total driving, ball striking hasn't exactly been there, but we know not to worry about that too much. Top 10 in strokes gained to the green. That's good for us, for him this week. We can pull up some other stats if we want to. Let's see that 200. We're going to include that 200 to 175 yards range. We're going to include that in there. You can also look down there if you guys want to. This is the strokes gained stats and whatnot. So we have that there as well for you guys, just as a whole. But yeah, let's scroll back up here just to the, you know, basic chart. Birdie to bogey ratio, he ranks out well at that. So, you know, yeah, Xander Schauffele might just be the highest priced player this week, and it wouldn't surprise me. But that's one way to use this tool. Another way to do it is to kind of just get a basic overview. These are all the players like that are ranked 1 through 1,000 in the world ranking. So you can sort it and just kind of see which players would be good fits. So Strokes gained tee to green, I think that's going to be one of the most key stats, if not the most key. So I'm really want to see, you know, the top 50 there. I want to see that. And then that birdie to bogey ratio, those are going to be the 2 key stats that I really go off of. So let's do, I kind of want to rank these out to which one I think is going to be the most significant. So don't want to go as low. And then ball striking as well. So we'll do that and kind of see which players would really be popping for this week if they were in the field. Not necessarily saying that they are. Really get a very trimmed down player pool there. So Justin Suit there, he'd be a good play. Emiliano Grillo, he'd be a good play. DJ would be a good play. Colin Morikawa, Bryson Webb, Hatton. That makes sense. So let's try to just see that, you know, trim it down a little bit more to see if we can really key in. So just going to do that 200 to 175 yards range. Then we really get a trim player pool down. So I'm hoping that we'd see Justin Suh finally. That'd be great. Joaquin Niemann, he'd be a good play for this course. Harris English, Terrell Hatton. I'm not sure if he's going to make the trip over. Field's not exactly finalized yet, which is one of the unfortunate sides of doing this video on Sunday afternoon instead of like Monday. But I like to get this out to you guys. So that is going to be kind of the breakdown there. Very interesting to look at. So if you guys want to, definitely make sure to check out all the new tools at 9 to 5 Sports. Got a lot of things going on there. Just going to keep getting better, bigger and better each and every week. All right, I hope you guys have a good week this week. I hope that this week, it shouldn't be. I hope it isn't a high variance week because it doesn't look like it will be. So hopefully it's a much better week. Hopefully we can get back to the Keep Cashing crew there. If you guys want, give me a like and subscribe. I appreciate that. If you guys want to join 9 to 5 Nation, links in the description below. $10 a month. All right, thanks for watching, guys. And as always, let's keep cashing.